The first a couple of times I was with women, even as a young boy, I realized something's weird. There was a way that they were reacting to me that was strange. Felt like I felt in danger. Even as a little boy, I remember maybe I was 5. My parents went to some other family's house. You know, when you're a kid, they put you to sleep, but then they had a daughter, so they put me to sleep next to the daughter. And I woke up and I was like scared for my life. The little girl was going crazy next to me. And now I know she wanted to fuck. But she was 5, right? Or 6. But some power was being activated in her, so she was just responding to it, and she was just, in a 5-year-old, sexual energy is very unripened, but something is there. It's not there, it's always there, but it's unactivated or very low activation. And I remember it very vividly. I was, I was saying, what the fuck? Without the fuck, I'm like, what's wrong with this person? And she was just trying to just jump on me and just take something, but she didn't know what it was or what was happening. And she was essentially acting out. I remember this one very vividly. Then let's jump a couple of steps, because I have little stories like this. I remember the first time I was with girls, the way they would respond. I didn't make anything of it at the time, but something stayed in my mind. And then over the years, then I started to, oh, okay, I understood. So one of the first girls I ever just fornicated with, the way she responded was very odd. And I'm like, okay, one time. Then the second girl also. Then I skipped, then I went to older women. And then the older women were responding this way, but older women, contrary to the little girl who's, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 or something, they speak, right? So I remember there's a Portuguese woman, and and then I went to her house. I was an idiot, but she said she had weed, so I'm like, ooh. First of all, she said she wanted to take me out to dinner. I said, yeah, let's go to McDonald's. I was joking and not joking, because she wants to go to restaurants. I like Mickey D's, right? So she's like, no, we're not going to McDonald's. So she took me to some Italian spot. I felt obliged to eat that, anyways, some Italian stuff. Then I wanted to go home because my buzz was over. And she says, would you like to come over? And I said, you have any weed? And she says, yeah, I have a leftover joint. It's hash. I'm like, fuck hash, but okay, anyways, I'll go. So anyway, I found myself going at her place. The hash was shit. And I don't drink. I don't like drinking. I didn't like drinking. Anyways, one thing led to another. I kind of felt obliged. So I'm like, fuck, I have to do something now. I was like, just want to go home, right? So anyways, I started doing my thing as usual, and she just responded in a very particular way. And at some point in the process, her eyes raised. She was like butt naked, and I was fully dressed with my pants on, the whole thing, like 100% dressed. And she was very shocked. I remember her face, because these are that's data that starts to accumulate. You're like, this is kind of like weird. Not weird in a bad way, but something's going on. And she says, this has never happened to me. I don't know what's happening to me. I can't move. And you're all dressed. And now she's trying to come out of her little coma state. She's not coma, she's totally relaxing. That's really what it was. But for her, this is unusual, especially with a kid. I think I was 21. Then it happened a couple of months later with another older lady. And she said the same thing. So older women would give me insights. That's why I would hang out with them, because they would teach me stuff. Not teach me stuff, but there was a more honest communication. Whereas a young girl, what the fuck does she know? And she said the same thing. She's like, I don't know what, something's with your touch. And then I remembered I had a girlfriend for a couple of years. It was on and off, and it was a hell. And she would make these kind of comments all the time. It was different, but she would say, I don't know, every time you touch me, it's very special, it's very different. And after we had broken up, and she became the hoe that she is. And then at some points, I'd just sneak back in for a minute, for a little dip. And so the comments had 1,000 times more value. Because now she's just been with whoever she's been with, and now she's saying that sentence, and it would hit me. I'm like, right? But when you're a kid, maybe you're a moron. What do you know? And so you kind of make it into something, or your false ego gets upset or excited. But at some point, I started to understand this. I'm like, oh no, I think I have a thing with touch. I have a gift with touch. And I just start compiling lots of experiences, and I think, oh yeah, I think with touch, yeah. So, but touch, it's a wide universe. Touch is not just massage or like physiotherapy or fixing a bone. With touch, you can touch so deep. I'm not sure how much people know about this. Some people know this for sure. But your average person doesn't know this. They don't understand the power of touch and how far reaching a touch can be and how it can move you. And eventually you can touch without using your hands, just with your attention, which is when you touch, it's your attention through your touch. So then you eventually learn how to touch without using your hand, and then you can use your attention touching at a distance. And when I'm saying touching, I'm talking about therapeutic touch. Yeah? Let's not pervert shit for the sake of conversation, please. So this started to kind of click in that domain. And as I started to go, quote unquote, spiritual, when I started to be interested in life, consciousness, who I am, where I come from, all this stuff, and I started learning more about this and learning more about health, I started to understand, oh, this is natural for me. I've always been like this. When I was a kid, I had an interest towards this, and people would respond to my reactions because I would make comments. Maybe I shared this once. As a little kid, I'd get very upset at my mom because she was smoking cigarettes, and I was very sensitive to my environment. Very strong very strong sense of smell, very powerful ears. Just nothing fantastic. This is not like supraordinary, maybe to some degree, but not really. But when you start to put these elements together and you put aside the junk, the toxins, the wannabes, the trying, the not trying, all this bullshit puts aside, it's like, well, I clearly have an affinity towards the so-called healing arts. Clearly. Because that's what I have an interest in. So as I started to learn it and study it, and I started discovering the universes in the healing world, the different kinds of ways of approaching healing, the different methods, the different methodologies, the different cultural healing contexts, from African shamanism to all the way there to India to Western, I started oh, this is natural for me. This is my world. I know this stuff. And when you find yourself in school and you're talking to the guru of the school, or the guru's talking to you and he's saying stuff that's advanced shit and you already know it, and people get upset because then they think you got an ego, maybe you're a little arrogant, fine. But it's I already know what you're saying. You're not telling me anything I don't know. Yeah, but this is the advanced stuff, and he's already saying stuff that you know, and he's talking about stuff that is written in advanced books that you already instinctively and intuitively know. At some points, things start to click, right? But still at that point, there is no path. So I'm learning here and there, and every method has this approach and its paradigm, and I'm I don't care about this paradigm, but it's reacquainting me with, for example, touch. And I studied homeopathy, it's reacquainting me with the concept of, first of all, potency medicine, attention medicine. It's reconnecting me to principles that I had to remember somehow. Am I going to use homeopathy and homeopathic remedies? No, I'm more powerful than homeopathic remedies. If I need to, I could, I won't. But it's not I have a problem against it. It's I understood the principle. Then I went into Chinese medicine. I had an interest in this. It's just the herb and Chinese medicine. At least it's anchored in a strong philosophical ideology. So it's understanding, okay, that's how I'm thinking. I'm always looking to make sense of the body, health, healing, disease in an ideological perspective that grounds itself in an understanding of creation. Even Western medicine kind of does that. It's in the Big Bang and all their bullshit. But your average New Age healing system doesn't push that far. And I always felt this doesn't make any sense, because what's healing if it's not... Well, first you have to define what a human being is. Then you have to define a man and a woman. Then you have to define what health is. And when there's a person that's out of balance, it has to be according to a paradigm, a way of looking things, a way of understanding things. And the process of healing is taking them back to an organic, original state, or at least as close as possible, which is defined by how you see life. So I felt that was natural. So when I went to traditional Chinese medicine, I'm like, yeah, I understand this. It's just everything was somewhat natural, easy, if I can say it like this. It's not, I'm a Chinese traditional medicine. I don't give a fuck about Chinese medicine, right? It's not my thing. It's the principles. So I would go from system to system absorbing the principles, because those principles are part of a greater understanding of the human body, of health, of healing, of disease. And I was just reacquainting myself with these principles. But I had an ease with it, so I can study, and I would study fast. It's like, zzz, I understand, zzz, I study, understand. Then of course I would always go see a teacher or a guru, because I need to feel it, I receive it, I understand, move on. Like I said, for some people this is like, you're insulting. You can spend an eternity studying traditional Chinese medicine. I'm like, perhaps, because you want to be a traditional Chinese medicine person. I'm not interested in this. I'm interested to discover what it is, what kind of quote unquote medicine man / shaman / what the hell you want to call me, what version of that am I? And I know it's not this, because it's too small, doesn't interest me. And that of course would insult people, because those who preach or love traditional Chinese medicine think it's total, it's infinite. They believe it's a whole, it's complete. So I will not say it's incomplete, they will get upset, but in my world, I'm like, no, I know something that you don't. I'm not going to confront you with it or challenge you with it, but I'm not going to dedicate myself to something I find small. I've met something bigger, and I want to know the medicine. I want to participate, be part of ground. I don't know how you want to say this. The medical knowledge, the understanding of the human body, health, disease, and how to help human beings reclaim their rightful heritage, according to the paradigm I was introduced to, which is superior than this one. And how do I know this? Because, well, when you have a taste of good chocolate and you eat a lesser one, you know immediately. But you cannot convince the lesser one that you know something else. So you just move on. So then when I was younger, I like to battle. Now I don't like to battle, I don't care. But so then you create friction, and then you battle, it's part of the game. And then you meet the young priests of their tradition, and I'd fucking whoop the shit out of them. And then I felt bad, so eventually I learned how to be nonviolent, because then it created repercussions. And then on my side, my teachers would just hit my fingers with an axe. So I learned not to do this, because it's not correct. But I had it in my heart though. Anyways, I learned lots of things, but this is how it was just natural. When you find something, when you listen to stories of specific athletes or specific people, you just eat it up, eat it up, eat it up, eat it up, eat it up. Well, at some point you find something, and I'm like, I just eat it up, eat it up, eat it up. Nobody's telling me to read, nobody's telling me to study, nobody's telling me to go there, nobody's telling me to visit that person. I'm just doing it. Why? Because it's just what I do. Not one day, not 1 year, not 2 years. I'm talking about like non-stop 15 years. If I got to take a flight and go all the way to, I don't know what, I'm on the flight going all the way to South Africa, even just to meet the person for 10 minutes. Because I need to go get something there. And so when you're animated by something like this, at some point you don't know where it's taking you. And each time you get somewhere, because now I look back, I understand. When I was there, when I went to homeopathy, I'm like, yes, I found what it is that my calling is to do. Right? So when you're an idiot and you don't know where you're going, and the guidance I was receiving wasn't so direct. It was there, but not so direct. Okay? So each time I would find something, I would fall in love with it, because I love beautiful women. Right? So it's like, oh wow, look at this, and oh wow, look at that. And in each one, I'm like, I'm like a fish in water. I'm like, this is natural for me. I could rock here. I could be the best here. But then I would get very quickly bored, because I felt like this is too small. And then I get disillusioned. My heart would be a little sad, because I thought it would hang out there. And then there's the main priest, and the main priest generally like me because I ask good questions. And then there's the girls, and I'm like, I could have hooked up with her and her and her, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. I have to say farewell. So long, farewell. I need to say adieu. Salut, 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 salut. Dun, 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 dun. If you know what it is, if you know where that song comes from, hit that notification bell and put it in the comment section. So So anyways, so all this, and at some point I started to understand as I got a little more mature, I'm like, oh, okay, I know why I can't stay nowhere. Because I'm part of a tradition, and part of my job is to ground its quote unquote medical system. Because every, I don't want to say ideological system, or every current of power, every power, as it comes and manifests itself, it brings knowledge, and it has to create around itself a medical system or a healing system to help its adherents find alignment within that current, because that's what health is really about. Health is nothing more but alignment to a current, an intent. That's what health is. That's how you define health. So, of course, I didn't know that, and I had to figure it out. I bumped my head more than 1,000 million times. It hurt, but I kept going, and that's when you know that whatever you're doing is what you're supposed to do. Because I'm not counting the number of times I'm getting my head bumped, the number of strifes or battles I get into, and I just don't care. It's like I'm on a mission, but I didn't totally understand what mission I was on, but I knew I was on a mission and I wanted to learn. That was 100% fact. So that's when it started to become clear. And also, in the process, because it's like, let's say, I like to use the analogies of martial art because many men will understand that more than in the healing world. Some men will definitely understand the healing world, but your average guy doesn't understand this. So it's like, let's say you want to become a super martial MMA dude. So you're going to go see the jiu-jitsu over there from, I don't know which Gracie brother. And then you're going to go see, you're going to go to Thailand and see, I don't know who's doing Muay Thai. Then you're going to go see a specialist over there. And then you're going to go see, what's his name, the Israeli dude with the movements that McGregor went to see. And you're like going and getting pieces and putting them together for yourself. And through the process, you're meeting all kinds of cats and priests and activists of their own systems. And it's a particular journey, and also to realize, okay, there's a difference between me, who I am, where I'm going, what I represent, what I care for, and where they're at. And to understand this and learn to respect these systems and understand the limitations of the systems and what it is that they do. Because at the end of the day, if I want to use traditional Chinese medicine herbs, I've absorbed them in my system. Absorb everything. I don't have limitations. But it's an interesting journey to discover this and understand how powers are organized and how it's always the same thing, right? It's different but same. So, anyways, long story short, that's kind of how I start to understand that that's kind of what I'm doing. And the harder part, or the challenge that I had, is that in each of those systems, these are established systems. So established systems have a hierarchy, and the hierarchy is officialized and to a certain degree respected and recognized. So when a kid like me, I'm not a kid anymore, but at the time I was a kid, you go there and you're kind of representing something that they don't understand, or just give me the benefit of the doubt. Let's say it's beyond what they know, or they just don't know it, okay? They see you a little bit as an arrogant kid, and it's not to say that I didn't have some arrogance, but they also don't understand what you're doing. They don't recognize, they know, they can immediately see it as this guy is kind of one of us, but he's not. And the part that's not, they get scared of it. Because you ask question and again, as I was young, I was there, and I'm seeing their system, and every system, no matter what it is, has an ideological foundation. And I go straight to the ideology because that's how you learn anything. I need to master the ideology, let the ideology flow through my system, and then from there develop techniques, whether the medical techniques, palpation techniques, herbal techniques, doesn't matter, but it stems from an ideological current first and foremost. So when I would go there, I would question, of course, the guru. I'm learning what he's got to say, and I wasn't always a prick. I'm genuine, and I genuinely had questions. And sometimes these guys were like very impressive. I'm not gonna fuck with a bear, right? I'm a little cub. I'm not gonna fuck with a bear. Respect, right? Sometimes they're weak, so right? But so I'm asking questions, and that's why I said a lot of times they would appreciate it because my questions are very profound. And your average student doesn't ask profound questions. They just want to learn techniques so that they can have a profession and pretend that they're important, right? So I'm being a little cynical. Some people are very passionate about those sciences, but they're technicians. They learn the techniques and learn how to masterfully apply those techniques. They don't care about the deeper esoteric aspects of the healing system, which I do. So I speak to the teacher and ask questions, and then you would realize, okay, some teachers had enough understanding to take you as far as they could, and then you challenge their thinking, they could appreciate it. Some didn't appreciate your questions because it's like you're pointing to something that is beyond what they know, and they feel that the edifice of their world is shaken. And also the students would get upset or annoyed because most students, like I said, they just want to learn, they believe in their religion, right? And then you're asking questions, and the questions you're asking are challenging their beliefs. So I learned over the years to become diplomatic. That's what I learned. And I become a very diplomatic person. I even have like assigned parking, diplomatic parking authorized. I come with my cheap car, broken down, park there. You see, because it flies. Then I bounce. So the point of what I'm trying to say is that it was a very interesting journey. I'm very grateful I had the chance to go through this. I'm very grateful for all the teachers I met, the excellent teachers, the decent teachers, and the fucking idiots. All of them are very grateful because they forged me, mostly unknowingly. And through this process, of course, I had mentors that I genuinely appreciated. Certain sciences I stayed for much longer, some of which I've mentioned before. Like I'd stay there for a minute, but I was always in their mind like innovative. I'm like, no, I'm not staying here. I'm going, right? I'm going to blow this open because this is boring. I'm not going to spend like 15 hours learning how to crack a spine. Like whatever, dude. I want to reach the soul. Like who cares? Anyways. So I learned a bunch of things, and through the process, here I am. Thank you for the question.